What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for this week's episode of Here Walk Vigilantes, man. Another banger episode, man. This time we had Koichi and Aizawa team up to face off against a villain. You guys may remember I mentioned in my review for the previous episode that I was kind of debating whether or not I was going to react to this episode because it seemed like Aizawa was going to get a big showcase on it, and I didn't know if it was like going to be a flashback episode or not. It ended up not being, it was just a team-up episode, but I still decided to do a react to that episode anyway, so there you guys go. And before I mention this, before we continue on, guys, if I sound differently in this video, man, that's because I am recovering from being sick. A couple days ago, my allergies were sent to overdrive, man. I got really sick. I also had like a bit of a cough going on there, man. Yesterday was a lot better, but still not completely out of it. Today, I'm basically fine, but my voice is kind of a little hoarse, probably from the coughing or whatever, man. I'm still not 100% mad, and my top lip is dry as fuck, man. Like, it's all kinds of fucked up. I don't even know how that happened, ladies and gentlemen. But whatever the case may be, we move. So yeah, if I sound different, that's why, guys. Also, it seems like next week we might get another episode react, because it looks like next week will be the return of Knuckle Duster, and it looks like, if you pay attention to the next episode preview, we get a brief look at Hachiska in here, because we see like her hair color, or whatever his daughter's acting. I forget what his daughter is. Kimiko something. I don't know. I forget her actual name, man. But I'll just keep calling her Hachiska. That we see her hair and the eye patch she runs. If you pay attention to it, and it's kind of like blinking, you miss it in the next episode preview. So it seems like we'll actually get to see her as well as Knuckle Duster. We'll see how far this goes. It's just a cameo. We see that Knuckle Duster is fully back into the fold. We don't know. So for that, I might do a reaction for next episode as well. If that's actually Knuckle Duster, we see Hachiska in the next episode. So we might get a reaction to that episode as well. But yeah, man, without further ado, guys, let's just jump right in. So we start the episode off with Koichi once again training to using his new powers that he is new locked with these like repulsor blasts. Or called, I don't know if we got like I think Koichi like gave some name for like the big Kamehameha looking version, which is charged up. But like, I don't think we have a name yet for like the basic just normal charge, just normal blast. I'm just gonna until we get their name, please. I'm just gonna keep calling these repulsor blasts because they seem to function the same way as Iron Man's thing. So he has like these 3 cans in front of him. The 3 soda cans was already in his tracksuit. He does one, but he ends up almost falling over. He's like, I gotta worry about anchor right now. So he starts. So he like plants his feet down. He spreads his legs a little bit, squatting like a sumo wrestler, ready to charge out, fire out another charge attack. This is when Pop comes in there, and then Koichi falls over, and then she starts scolding him for trading with his new power because he can't use it, he'll get civilians hurt, etc, etc, etc. He'll get thrown into the slammer if some cops or pros see him doing this. And then Koichi says, I'm going out for my nightly patrol. Mind you, it is broad daylight outside, bro. What do you mean nightly patrol? The sun is still out. It ain't even like said, nah, bro. This has to be like 2, 3, given Pop's probably just came out of school, like 2, 3 p.m. I don't know if Japan comes out at a later time frame. I'm no expert on that, but going off for my American education, you know, this shit we got out like around 2:30, you know, 3-ish o'clock. That's around the time we got out of school. So it is still very much in the early afternoon. Why is man calling this nightly patrol? That's another thing, bro. Have y'all noticed that with Vigilantes season 1, we had a lot of it take place during night because you know they're vigilantes. Of course, they operate in the shadow of the night. Well, here with Vigilantes season 2, I'm pretty sure we still haven't seen a single like night sequence this entire season. I don't think we've had anything with any crime fighting relating to Koichi or Pop at all that's actually taking place on. I'm pretty sure everything's taking place in broad daylight, which is a bit weird, but maybe in the later half of the season we finally get to see some nighttime, some like night shots or something. I don't know. But I'm like, I don't know why Koichi call it nightly patrol yet. It's still the sun is still out. But whatever the case may be, this is when we get yet another conundrum regarding Pop's age. Because we find out that because as Koichi's putting on his jacket about to head out, Koichi mentions that she's not going to be joining them, that she's stuck doing homework. And he mentions how he's noticed that she has done a lot of homework recently. Like she's been doing this a lot. And she mentions how her middle school goes different from high school. They don't have entrance exams, so they just instead they give them a shit ton of like more assignments to bridge that gap instead of doing entrance exams. Which would lead to the assumption that Pop is indeed in middle school, about to enter her first year of high school. Now, I have seen in like the lead up to since Vigilantes started airing from season 1 onward, I have seen like the account tweet people saying that Pop is in middle school. Like I said, we still don't have as I checked the wiki, we don't have an actual like concrete age of what Pop's age actually is. So like going from this or something, we can assume that she is 13 or 14, around that age range, man. And given like her uniform, it would make sense for people to go into the assumption that she is indeed in middle school, because that's how middle school outfits look, uniforms look for Japanese schools. But I just refuse to believe this chick's in middle school, bro. Like, given her whole gimmick as an idol is shaking her ass, I refuse to believe she's in middle school. Like I said before, until we get an actual fucking number on what Pop's actual age is, I am still putting her 16, 17, 18. That's where I'm placing her. That is my headcanon. Like I said, bro, I refuse to believe Pop is in middle school, man. She does not look like she's in middle school, bro. Like I said, her whole gimmick is shaking her ass as an idol. I refuse to believe she's in middle school. Anyway, regardless of such, man, she then starts telling Koichi to get out of his own house, mind you, because she needs to get started studying. And I'm like, woman, this ain't your house. This is his house. You a guest in his house, and you telling him to get out of his own house? Damn. Anyway, after the OP, we see Koichi going up against a straight up just big villain with like 6 or 8 arms or something, coming after Koichi. That's like this big black dude that looks like to be merged with like an octopus or a squid or something. So Koichi, he's like trying to like get people out of there, man, and he's like running away from her, like I guess gliding or whatever, running away from the creature, and he thinks that he's like, okay, the dude ain't that slow, he's got a lot of arms, as long as he's out of his range, I'll be good. Well, this is when dude knocks into a building and just starts literally throwing rocks at him, which I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I thought it was kind of funny because in the early episode, Pop, when she was scolding Koichi about training with his new powers, she mentioned him about made an announcement about throwing rocks and also something about like, oh, is it fine? By that logic, is it fine to shoot people if the bullets are soft or something like that, man? So I thought the fact that Pop made that comment, that we see someone actually throwing rocks in the street at Koichi, I thought that was pretty funny. Either way, Koichi turns into this corner, which leads him into that sketch pharmacy, Brass Hour's place with the Kamen Riders, as they're literally actually working with some old dude using this bullshit, treatment. They come up using some medicine for it's meant to help with growing sheep's wool to grow back human hair. Now, apparently, seems to be some good. This seems to somewhat work because the dude is kind of iffy. Does this actually work? Etc. So which makes good sense. Like if you're going to these sketchy ass places to get some, drugs, you better make sure they fucking work, bro. And he lifts his hat off and bro, this dude's balding is honestly worse than if he just had a receding hairline, because he has this massive bald spot around his crown of his head that almost goes to his hairline but just falls short. It looks ridiculous, man. I felt so bad for him. I feel like at that point, I would rather have a receding hairline than that, because it just looks awful. But we can see his little white hairs popping out from where the bald spot is, so it's oh, it works. Negligible, it looks like, man, or maybe just started using it. I don't know, but hey, it's enough for him, man. He takes the drugs, and that's when Aizawa actually shows up once again, demanding more coffee. And once again, they remind him that this is a cafe, yet they still give him his coffee. So Aizawa mentions how he doesn't like mornings, and he usually but if he has a cup of Joe in the morning, that usually makes the rest of the day a lot easier to get through. And I'm like, bro, so what? I'm kind of wondering if this is actually the morning. I don't think it is, because like I said, Pop's getting home. I'm pretty sure this is after the school days, or not so I don't think this is the morning. But I'm like, bro, why do they got Aizawa out here acting like he's 50 or something, bro? With this whole deal of he needs coffee just to do basic functions. emotions. You know, I don't know why they gotta have my bro acting like he's 50. Anyway, so after that, he also mentions how, you know, it's the best, that their coffee is the best coffee in town. This is one of those rocks that the dude was throwing at Koichi go through their window, and this is when they meet up with Aizawa. Aizawa, of course, starts working against the villain, almost recognizing Koichi from earlier on in season 1, from the second episode, when Knuckle Duster was fighting him. Koichi's acting like he don't know a goddamn thing, and Aizawa just like, you know, whatever, we'll deal with the details later. Then he rushes in there to try and take out the guy while they're still, and he eventually ends up getting hit, dislocating his shoulder to learn later on in the episode. And there was like 2 other girls, civilians, 2 like little girls, looked like they were probably in high school or something, that were there too. Koichi, they were able to get those 2 out there, so that's one more thing Aizawa has to worry about. And this is when Koichi, and then he goes for another, but this is when Koichi leaps in like he's fucking Max Payne and fires off another repulsor blast towards the villain, which we know this cut actually had a lot more cuts on some of the board. Which also, one thing I noticed, you guys that just noticed that, because I obviously went to Sakagaboro to like all the new posts that were on for this episode, and to my surprise, I don't know if I'm just blind and I missed, or if these were uploaded at a later time frame compared to when I actually compared to when I watched and reviewed the episode. You guys may remember in my review for the previous episode, I mentioned how there was like no clips, no cuts from the second episode, or maybe there was like only like 1 posted from the second episode. Or from the last episode, excuse me, that was actually posted on Sakagaboro. Well, when I went to go check for this episode, and when there, I saw that they actually had the 2 cuts that I thought would have been uploaded, were actually uploaded with the tofu thing, as well as with the Mecha Godzillas. Both those cuts have since been uploaded on Sakagaboro. I don't know if I just missed the dude, whoever usually upload, what was this guy? Ken, right? I think is the account. Yeah, Ken. Whoever this Ken person is was just late that week. He decided to post this a little bit later on in the day or something. Or if I'm just blind and I somehow missed them when I went to check Sakagaboro for that episode. I don't know, but the cuts are there. And anyway, we also got the cuts from this episode, which obviously the big one was Angel Kade once again worked on this episode. We'll talk about his cut when we get there near the end, at the end of the episode. But anyway, as I was saying, this portion right here with Koichi coming in there for the save for Aizawa was done by an man by the name of 456 Kanai, if I'm pronouncing that right. The dude's on Instagram. The dude's actually on Instagram posted the Gengas for this as well, so that's good. I did look at it a little bit, and no one is, it's time to record. No one is posting on Sakagaboro, so looks like I'll be posting them. Seriously, bro, you go on my Sakagaboro, everything I post is just Gengas. I'm never fast enough for actual shows, and probably most of these shows are have like people that they've out of. There's like some, like on Sakagaboro, there's some like gentleman's agreement for like big shows that like these particular accounts get the post cuts or not, or if it's just like first cuts or something, these guys usually always on it first. I don't know how this works, man, but like I never fast enough to get the cuts done, but I'm always on it with Gengas. Sometimes for like Hero Waka, people beat me to it, but more time, especially for Vigilantes, there's been a few times that. But for the main series, man, I'm usually was always the first one to get Umakoshi's corrections up there, man, and any other Gengas I found. I was usually always first on those, man. So yeah, literally that's all I got for posted, man. You got Gachiaka Gengas, you know, Vigilantes Gengas, fucking Hellsparrow Season 2 Gengas, obviously Blue Exorcist as well, Hero Waka, tons of Gengas. It's all here, man. But anyway, getting sidetracked. So like I said, yeah, that was the anime behind this one. We also get some quick backstory narration about Aizawa from Koichi. Like, he's a neighborhood hero. He doesn't like the press. Nothing that we didn't already know from season 1 of the main series. I mean, not Vigilantes, the main series. But anyway, he managed to like knock the dude back, giving Aizawa time to get back up, and then he starts wrapping his scarf, which I also have to ask, bro, how fucking long is this scarf, man? Because at this point, I am convinced that this thing is however long it needs to be, man. There is no actual set length to his scarf, because the shit we see the scarf doing in this episode in particular defies all physics and logic, even to what we see on him what he's wearing around his neck during, you know, on episode-to-episode basis throughout the main series and this one, man. It just seems to be as long as whatever it needs it to be, man. It's just, it's practically infinite. Because, like, especially this episode, bro be doing some crazy stuff, and I'm like, bro, ain't no way it's actually that long. But anyway, so, like, Koichi, they get back up there, and the other 2 guys have to transform into Kamen Riders. This is also, you find out there's actually such thing as legally obtained trigger, which is just like legally obtained marijuana, where it's like meant for medicinal use, or if it's like or it's a not as strong component compared to the stuff that we saw Hachishka and number 6, you know, spreading and you know, distributing in season 1. Not entirely sure. I don't think this has ever been mentioned before. There being legally obtainable rather trigger before this episode. I could be wrong though. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever heard of there being illegal ways to obtain trigger. Like I said, I'm not sure how different it is from the stuff that Hachishka is distributing. If it's the same but just in smaller dosage, or if it's just like a smaller, you know, not as potent or powerful drug compared to that stuff, man. I'm not sure. But whatever the case may be, they use that to transform the Chopper. Koichi's like, oh yeah, man, I use that shit too. Trying to obviously play up that he's not actually the crawler, you know, trying to get up by himself, but he sees Red Crew. And once again, of course, this is the first time we've actually heard people call Koichi the Crawler once again. But actually, the cool thing about this episode is once Koichi corrects them to say it's the Crawler, they actually, in fact, do call him the Crawler, which I appreciate, man. It's about time people finally got Koichi's name right. Anyway, so they end up taking him to a different location, trying to get away from the villain, just get into a wider space so they can find him without risking civilians or any other collateral damage. We go back to the warehouse that the big-ass grasshopper dude is staying at, man, Kamaya. And so, bro, so one of the comment writers will tell me, hey, bro, you gotta get out of here, man. We need this space. He's like, you evict me? Well, I'm squat. Well, you ever heard of squat? That's right, I'm squat. Which obviously is a thing in America, man. But I'm genuinely curious if, like, such a thing exists in Japan. Does, like, Japan also have squatters' rights? Or is this just an American, man? Because I don't, like I said, they're, like, a lot of these dudes, like, I'm wondering how close they are to the Japanese. Like, is this dude this woke in the Japanese as well? Or is it, like, he's kind of woke there, but the dub kind of punches it up a little bit more to make it funnier or something? I don't know, because you guys already know watch the show subbed. But either way, man, this was funny. Like, this brother is so woke, man. Like I said, you got the New York accent there, man. I'm genuinely wondering if this dude's voiced by a person of color or a black dude, or just some random white guy from Texas. If he's obviously voiced by like a black dude or like a person of color, or a person of color, man, honestly, that would just make this character way that much funnier if he actually was voiced by a minority. But whatever the case may be, Koichi comes in there, man, and says, hey, man, is this the warehouse where we're going to be bringing him at? And then the dude says, what? Why you look at me like I'm a villain? Huh? That's bigotry. You're a bigot, man. You're a bigot, my dude. His friend says, you're a bigot, my dude. Honestly, I might make that the title of this review, man, because that line was fucking hilarious, man. I didn't really catch it when I first watched the episode in my reaction, but when I went back to rewatch, I was dying when I heard him say, I don't want to keep saying mixing bitch with bigot. You're a bigot, my dude. Either way, and then goes on about bigotry, and this is where it comes from, man, prejudice, and like prejudice and stuff. I'm just like, brother is so woke. It's also funny how woke this brother is. But anyway, bro's like, I don't know what y'all's coming down. I'm here to enjoy it's tea time, so fuck off. And also, before I get to mention, bro, this dude's rocking an old school set. He got his headphones on with his tea time, man, and bro is rocking an old iPod Nano for his music. But he ain't rocking no iPhone. He going old school with the good old iPod, man. You love to see it, man. You love to see it. But anyway, then the big guy comes in there, man, breaks both his teacup as well as the actual teapot itself, man. Bro is obviously pissed, and he starts throwing hands with this big-ass squid dude. And Koichi's confused, like, hey, didn't he just tell me not to judge by appearance? He's like, don't worry about him, he's always like that. So these two start going at it like it's rock and sock and roll. That's what it looks like, man. But the big guy quickly takes over the grasshopper. And then after that whole thing is after they're done battling it out for a while. This is when Koichi and the others work together to like lock him, or rather the Kamon and Aizawa uses his scarf to blindfold while he holds him up. And this is when Koichi launches his ultimate Kamehameha attack, or what he called it as shooting go blam. Yeah, I'll stick with Kamehameha or Kamehameha wave, whatever the move is fucking called. It resembles that more anyway. So that didn't really do much damage to him. Meanwhile, Aizawa and the Kamen Riders are stuck on, are holding them, waiting for their moment to strike. While Koichi is like moving around trying to dodge his attacks and just keep him occupied. This is when we get to the part where in the episode where at this point I am convinced Aizawa's scarf defies logic. And because, mind you, he already has some of his scarf wrapped around his arm as a makeshift sling. They jump out of the window of this building and then uses the scarf to create a net from like the little railing on the second floor all the way down to the bottom to the ground floor, covering up pretty much the entire building, including the door, locking him in a net. There is absolutely no way he has that much scarf on him, bro, from what we see him actually carrying in the show. This is absolutely ridiculous now at this point. At this point, they are not even trying to make this scarf remotely realistic at this point. It's just it's however long he needs it to be at this point, man. It's actually getting ridiculous. But anyway, so after that whole thing's going on there, man, the dude goes to grab his phone to call it in for the cops or whatever, and then Kamayon like taps him on the head or whatever. This agitates him, man, and then he starts grabbing at him, and he's like, "Hey, bro," and he's like trying to like stab at him with his like little things, but all it does is end up toppling the entire building over. He escapes, and then they're chasing after him. This is when we come back to some dark, dingy alleyway with number 6 as he has like a record or a sheet of him giving or like some sort of like review sheet or whatever, or diagnostics about him on his phone. Also, I really like the look of it, man. It's really cool. And so then then the dude comes right in front of number 6. Number 6 court does the speedster thing, counters all his moves, man, sends his ass to the ground, and then catches his phone on while it's on the way down after he finishes. Afterwards, number 6 grabs like blood sample or whatever, something out of him, and he's like, alright, I love when the job's is easy. He starts to walk away, but then the octopus guy, he ain't going out like no bitch. He literally grabs a rock and throws it at him, which ends up cutting his cheek. And this pisses on number 6 to no end. He rushes in there and starts beating the shit out after he rants about how he purposely put this scar on his forehead, on his face, because he wanted to pay homage to a person that he admires and his successor. I'm assuming it's the knockoff Flash of the Hero Walker universe, seemingly, which does kind of like put a wrench in my plan, like that the scar is connected to his quirk, because like I said, we seemingly only see the scar pop up when he is about to use his speedster quirk, because we see it pop in and out like in the last episode. Might be connected, maybe it's not connected, whatever the case may be. He goes off about how this is a badass scar and that people are gonna like he goes on about like this, and then people are gonna get it's right there with your weak ass scars. People are gonna get the point. He just starts ranting at this point, man. Shout out to Aaron Campbell. He was phenomenal here, man. Beats the shit out of him. Again, this is when we get to Angel Kade's cut, which someone posted this in the comments. It's cut on Sakaburo, and I would agree. This looks like this was probably like heavily corrected by, I believe this was done by the chief animation director for it, which, by the way, this episode had a lot of fucking ADs on. Like, straight up, if you go on Donuts, I don't know what it looks like on Keyframe staff, if it's the same there, if it's like the credits are slightly different. But for him, literally there was ADs, assistant ADs, chief animation director, and then Genga AD. What the fuck is a Genga AD? like what is there to compare to a normal AD or the assistant ADs, or the chief animation director, bro? Why is there, what the fuck is a Genga AD, man? Whatever the case may be, yeah, it was done by the chief animation director, Takehiko Yoshida. Was the AD for this X-Men? You can definitely tell that this was probably heavily corrected, because a lot of Angel Kade's motifs, like the shadowings, the unique compositing style, a lot of that is kind of missing here, man. There are small bits where you can kind of see a little bit, but it's not as pronounced as a lot of his other work, like we saw in Vigilantes. Previous works on Vigilantes or Gachiakada, man. So yeah, I would not be surprised if this ended up being heavily corrected, man. Like I said, there's little bits where you can kind of see, but most for like the last bit in particular, in the reflections of like how the big guys he's fought. This looks straight up like Angel Kade, man. But the rest of it, man, it kind of, you don't really see it, man. So like I said, I imagine this was probably indeed heavily corrected. Not entirely sure why it was heavily corrected, because, like, you know, Angel Kade is a well-known animator, beloved, recent, like, you know, rising star, man. You would never really see someone like this, like an animator of this caliber, get, like, heavily corrected like this, man. But I don't know, maybe the chief animation director was, like, very particular about this one or something, like I said. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, man, this was his cut, man. Looked amazing, but like I said, definitely looked like it got heavily corrected compared to a lot of his other work. Anyway, after he done with his flirting, he ends up, the dude sends him still being alive. He wasn't able to finish him out in one go. So he walks up towards him, man, tells him, pick your last words wisely. In 5 seconds, I'm gonna put a hole in your chest, or put a hole in your head like a jackhammer. He starts counting down. Koichi comes in and says, like, hey, get away, there's a villain. He gets out of there, man, and we basically cut over to, like, I'm assuming the next day, man, where Koichi walks up to Aizawa as he's talking with Sukuochi, and discovering what happened to the big guy and like who took him down. Like, you know, he thinks it was Knuckle Duster, but Aizawa knows that it wasn't him. Like I said, this is when Koichi comes and be like, "Hey, Eraser, you going on patrol right now?" And of course, Pop is freaking out, like wondering what the hell is he doing. And she's like, "You know, is it safe to talk to a pro like this?" And he's like, "What? We became friends yesterday." Then he looks at Aizawa again. He is completely pissed off, man. And now Koichi has lost his nerves, wondering what's happening. They walk away, and Tsukuyoshi asks, does he know him? And he says, no, I think he's just confused. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the episode ends. Like I said, guys, this next episode looks like we might have the return of Knuckle Duster, as well as Tama. There we go. Tama and his daughter, or Hachiska. Not entirely sure, man, but we'll have to wait and see when the next episode drops. And yeah, man, sorry again, my voice started off, man. But I said I'm still recovering from whatever sickness I had a couple days ago. But yeah. Anyway, guys, already this episode of 9 now. 10 guys, hope you guys will really like it. If you subscribe to me, follow me so you feel like it. Links are below, and as much for more. See you guys next time.